Hey everyone, welcome back. For those of you who are new here, my name is Brittany. I'm a health coach and nutritionist, and my channel is all about helping you to create delicious, low FODMAP meals to improve your digestive health. If you're into it, go ahead and subscribe. We put out a new video each week. All right guys, today I am super excited to bring you this barbecue rib recipe. I had a subscriber ask me for a barbecue sauce recipe, and I didn't have one, but I took the time to create not only one recipe, but 3. So Jessica Ryan, this video is for you. So today we're gonna be making a sweet and tangy barbecue sauce, a spicy honey chipotle, and a maple bourbon barbecue sauce. We're gonna be cooking our spare rib today in the oven, and it's only gonna take about an hour and a half, which is so much better than like 4 hours on the smoker or the grill. All right, so let's start by prepping our spare rib. So mine has been pre-trimmed, and it's already had the membrane removed, but a lot of times there will still be a membrane on this back piece right here. So you just want to cut away from it slightly and then grab a paper towel and tear the rest of it off. If you were going to just put this straight on the grill, you'd probably want to trim off all these like fats and like loose meat pieces, but we're actually going to be wrapping ours in foil today, so we don't have to worry about it catching fire on the grill. I'm just removing some like excess pieces right here. Okay. All right, now let's move on to our rub. So here I have a rub that is 1 teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon pepper, a tablespoon brown sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of smoked paprika, and a 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder. The salt, pepper, and sugar base is something that you're gonna use for any rub. I used the chili powder and the smoked paprika because that is the sauce. Those are the spices that are used in the sauce that I plan on putting on the ribs. So if you were to choose one of our other sauces today, then you were gonna use those spices in your rub. We're gonna be pretty generous with this rub. I never like to skimp on flavor. And all this brown sugar in here is gonna be amazing when it's all caramelized. Okay, now that you see your rub start to look wet, you'll know that it's set, and when you flip it over, all of your seasoning won't go everywhere. Okay, so now we're just gonna do the other side. Yeah. Just kind of massage that in there. Okay, so now here's the trick to cooking these ribs in just over an hour. We're gonna be using foil to wrap them in. We're gonna place our ribs on there. Oh, I didn't do enough foil. But that's okay, we're gonna make it work. So what this foil is going to do is going to trap all of the steam from the moisture that's in the ribs, which is going to make them come out super tender, and it's actually going to cook them faster also. You can use this foil packet method straight on the grill too. I don't like to grill personally. So we're going to be doing it in the oven. Okay, we're going to make sure that is nice and sealed, and then we're going to do another layer. I'm gonna put this one face down so that our seams have some overlap. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to just sit this on a baking sheet so it's easier to pull in and out, and then put the bone sides down and then pop that into the oven at 300 degrees for an hour. All right, now while that's cooking, let's get started on our barbecue sauce. So first we're going to be making our sweet and tangy sauce. And all of the bases for my barbecue sauces are made out of tomato paste. A lot of people use ketchup or tomato sauce to start their barbecue sauces, but I think it's easier to start with tomato paste because a lot of ketchups can have onion powder in it and high fructose corn syrup. And same thing with tomato sauce, they can have a lot of garlic powder and onion powder in there. So we're keeping it low FODMAP, and also tomato paste is pretty ubiquitous and it's super cheap. Okay, so here we have 6 ounces of tomato paste. This little thing is so clutch right now. Okay, next we're going to be adding a 1/2 cup of water. I generally like to get this started on the stove so it can combine before I add in the rest of our spices. So I'm gonna go do that now. Okay, so I'm just heating this up on high flame for about a minute, maybe two, just until all the tomato paste and water combine and make more of like a sauce. Okay, so now you see that's the consistency that we're working with. Now we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients. We're gonna be adding a half a cup of distilled vinegar, a tablespoon of molasses, which is a high FODMAP ingredient, but in this amount should be totally fine. So the cool thing about sugar, like regular table sugar, brown sugar, is that they have an even 1-to-1 ratio of glucose to fructose. So they are totally low FODMAP and well absorbed in your system. Like, when is it ever like the healthiest thing is also the cheapest thing? That never happens. Okay, so now we're gonna be adding our spices. We have 1 teaspoon of salt here, a teaspoon of celery salt, a teaspoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika, and a teaspoon of chili powder. Okay, now we're just gonna put that onto the stove and let it reduce on a low flame for 30 minutes, and that's it. All right, for our next sauce, we're gonna be making the maple bourbon sauce. So we're gonna start it the same way with the tomato paste in the water. Okay, now we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients. So we have a half a cup of apple cider vinegar, which is not as strong as distilled vinegar, so it's gonna have a less tangy flavor, but still a good amount of tang. We're also going to be adding a 1/3 cup of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. I got the one with dark color and robust taste. I thought that would have been nice for ribs, for barbecue sauce, you know. We're also going to be adding a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of clove, 1/8 of a teaspoon of allspice, and a dash of cardamom. A dash is an actual measurement. There are spoons that have them on there. But I think it's just a 1/2 of 1/8 of a teaspoon if you don't have one of those. Okay, and last we're going to add 2 shots of bourbon. I have Bullet here, but you can use any bourbon. Whew. All right, now let this, all right, now let's get this back on the stove and combine everything and simmer it on low heat for about 30 minutes. Okay, now for our last sauce, the spicy honey chipotle, we're gonna start the same way again with the tomato paste in the water. All right, so now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. We have 3/4 of a cup of apple cider vinegar. We have 2/3 of a cup of brown sugar. We have 2 tablespoons of spicy deli mustard. You wanna be careful that you're not buying a mustard that has garlic and onion in there. This one just has vinegar, water, mustard seed, salt, and turmeric. So pretty clean. And then we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of honey. Like running out of honey, so hopefully we have enough. Yeah, just enough. And lastly, we're gonna be adding our spices. We have 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and a teaspoon of chipotle powder. Okay, now back to the stove. So this sauce we're working on right here is my favorite, the spicy honey chipotle. It's got a nice little kick to it. I also like the smoky flavor from the chipotle and the smoked paprika. So here we have the barbecue sauce that we made first, the sweet and tangy. You'll see how it's reduced quite a bit already, and it's nice and thick, and it coats the spatula entirely. So that's gonna get even thicker once it cools down. This one's been going for about 30 minutes, and it's actually done. So this one here is our maple bourbon. This one's been cooking about 15 minutes. You can see a lot of that liquid and alcohol is starting to cook off, but it's nowhere near thick enough. You can see it barely coats the spatula. And here, this is our spicy honey chipotle one that we just mixed up. And it's still very liquidy. We're gonna let these other 2 reduce on low heat for about 15 more minutes for this one and 30 minutes for this one total. I also wanted to say that if you wanted to make your Chipotle barbecue sauce spicier, you can totally do that. Just double the amount of Chipotle. So when these two are done, it's gonna look more like this one. It's gonna be thicker and we're gonna have a darker color because of all that brown sugar is gonna be caramelized. Okay, our ribs have been cooking in the oven at 300 degrees for 1 hour. Now we're going to remove them from the foil packet and put our sauce on there. Oh yeah. Okay. See how the meat has pulled away from the bones about 1/4 of an inch? It's exactly what we want. That's how we know they're cooked. Okay, so I'm actually just going to cut these in half so that they can fit in our little dish right there. And now we're gonna brush them with our sauce. I'm doing the first one that we made, the sweet and tangy. Okay, we're gonna put these back on our roasting pan and let the sauce set. All right, I turned the temperature in the oven up to 400 so it would set a little bit faster. So you can see they're set all here. These spots, sauce got slathered on a bit thick, so it didn't fully set down. Now we're gonna flip them and do the other side. Okay, let's pop those back into the oven. All right, this is set nicely. So now I'm gonna flip them over and add one more layer of sauce. Okay, back in the oven. So one thing I forgot to mention is that if you are eating the low FODMAP barbecue sauce, the serving is actually 2 tablespoons or 1.16 ounces. For these barbecue sauces, you can actually have 2.6 ounces. So that's more than twice as much, and it's really worth it to make it for yourself. These barbecue sauces also last for up to 3 months in the fridge. Oh yeah. I love the way that this is set up. We're gonna let that cool for a few minutes, and then we're gonna do a taste test. These ribs are gonna be perfect for any backyard barbecue you wanna have this summer. They would go great with my pasta salad recipe, which I have another video on. And to continue the summer barbecue motif, I'm gonna be putting out a potato salad recipe and a coleslaw recipe, so keep an eye out for those. All right guys, there you have it. Low FODMAP barbecue ribs with 3 different barbecue sauces for you to try. All right guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and if you make this recipe, don't forget to tag me. I love seeing you guys cook my recipes. All right, thanks again for watching. See you next week.